So I'm here with my good man, Izzo. Izzo, how are you, bro?
Yo, can't complain.
So I wanted to talk to you just about, a couple things, man. Give people a little more background on who you are as an artist, as a man.
Right.
So I personally got hip to your music through Two Reviews experience. But how long have you been putting music out as an artist?
But putting out, like, streaming-wise or just, like, in general?
I mean, if you was getting it out the trunk, we could talk about that
out
too.
the trunk, I'd say, around about 2013.
2013. Okay, so yeah, you've been.
Probably a little before that, but I could just remember back to that was the time actually like printing up CDs and passing them out.
So what inspires you to jump in the booth at that point and you know what I'm saying, put what's going on in your head on paper and out to the world?
Or now?
Both.
But then it was more so not having a diary, but being able to share the shit that I was doing. Like I couldn't write it down, so I had access to a booth, so I'm telling my exciting story at that time. Now it's more so understanding that things I've done went through and go through help other people get through things that they going through. So it's more so like therapy for me and for others.
So what would you say that turning point was for you, where you kind of noticed that the story was becoming almost like a motivational factor for others?
Having somebody call me crying, saying lyrics to one of the songs that I did.
Damn, that's heavy.
Yeah, it was hard to believe. It was like, damn. At that point, I'm thinking like, I ain't really saying shit, but just what I go through. So it was like, okay. So then from there, it was just steady fine tuning my craft.
Gotcha.
And that came from listening to Joe Budden. I had a guy I was cool with from Jersey, and I never forget, he set me in his car, was like, listen to this. It was Joe Budden's mood music. And listening to it, I could identify with one of the stories he was sharing. So then that helped me to get into like sharing my story, like the way that he did. So even now, like I do tracks, I call them mood music. That's paying homage to Joe Budden.
It's crazy you say that in an era where like Joe Budden is so known for his media, to being the media personality of the podcast. You know, every person that I know that is a Joe Budden fan, it's because of the mood music series. And I just think, impactful music that connects with people outside of, like chains and women and alcohol and perks, as we was talking about. That music it tends to have a longer runway, right? It tends to be more timeless.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it.
Is that something that's a part of your thought process, making sure that the music is timeless?
Nah, it's just getting that shit out of my system. Cause like I don't do the arguing or none of that. So it's like, it might be things that just build up. So I get in the booth and I just let it out like that way. Even if it's not all on one track, it might inspire me to do maybe 7 tracks. But all that come from that one ball of energy. When
you're doing, let's say it does come out to 4 or 5 tracks, are you working on them simultaneously, or is it like crush this song and then I want to the next song?
It all depends on like the engineer, how much time he have for me to work. Cause I go in there and just run through probably 3 and come back maybe week after next and do a few more. But if the time is permitted, I just keep going.
If your career as an artist was to end today, what would you say is the highlight of your career thus far?
Man, I'd probably say being on Sway in the morning. Even though it ain't go as I projected it to go, because once they had called me and was like they was running behind time, I had a feeling it was gonna get rushed. But the fact that they picked me to be on it, you can't take that away.
Got you. So they brought a bunch of MCs or what?
Nah, it was just me, but they, for whatever reason in their segment, they ran behind. So when it got to me, like the things was maybe, I feel like they ain't asked the questions they wanted to ask, then it was like rush. So it was like, didn't feel comfortable enough to, like how we talking. It was, blah, blah, blah. So it was like, like this Sway in the morning, let me soak it in. I ain't gonna be on here tomorrow, but it was cool to be on it, so. Some good folks I know like recommended me to send something in and they selected me. They sent an email, I thought this shit was a scam. I was like,
ain't no way.
Like, all right, man.
Over the last, say like month and a half or 2 months, it's been a lot of conversation in the area about what the DMV sound is there a DMV sound? What should be the DMV sound? Where do you fall on all of that topic? Like, do you think there's a sound? And if there is one, what is it?
I don't know, cause I grew up in DC, so I never embodied or not embodied the DMV. Shout out to Bello for creating the term DMV. I grew up in DC, so I don't get into like DMV things because you would have to know, like it's a thing. Like I grew up in DC.
So if you was outside of the area, you only telling people you a DC artist?
Yeah.
Got you.
That's where I'm from. I wouldn't fabricate it to appease anybody. Like, I'm from DC. Even when they ask, like, I'm from DC, and there's no disrespect to the DMV, Virginia, Maryland. Like, it's no disrespect to none of them. It's just that that's not the. I seen it being created, but it wasn't a thing that like I was in. So
the concept of DMV, do you see that beneficial to the 3 individual jurisdictions?
Overall, it's a great thing, but I feel like you have to be in motion like with that. It's like if we rock with each other and y'all formulated a crew, I don't have to be a part of that crew to like we have a foundation. Like I respect what y'all doing, but it'd just be weird to say, yeah, I'm this, but then if I get questions asked about that, I have to know about the Virginia scene, the Maryland scene, but if I don't know as much as I should about that, I shouldn't be jumping in that pool. It's like I'm from DC. I can tell you everything about DC, but the DMV is just not DC. So you have to be able to speak on all 3 things. And if you can't claim something that you can't speak on all of them. That'll make, in my opinion, it'll make you look like a fool. And being as though I'm in tune with some things that's going on in all those sectors, but I grew up in DC. Like I know about DC, so.
What's the future looking like for you? You got a little bit of 23 left, 24 on the way.
Finish up this project and then see what's lined up from there. Like one thing I never did was like an actual album. I always did mixtapes because I feel like doing mixtapes you could just be more free instead of more structured. So
you mentioned it's a project coming. What's the name of the project? Does it have a title yet?
It have a title. I ain't gonna share it because I don't want nobody to use
y'all
it
can't
before I put it out there.
Got you.
Off camera, I tell you.